pay off, but this debt forgiveness is detrimental to the country. Now, he points that out. Now, prior to the election, he said that he would forgive student loan debt. He lied. I will make sure America gets vaccinations in a timely manner. Now, when Trump was in command, everything was rolling swift. There were no problems. The supply and demand was being fulfilled. We were going to have to create a cycle in which a priority list of who's getting what first. And there was a schedule that most likely he would have stuck to and accomplished. Not with Biden. Suddenly, we don't have enough. There's supply failures. There's everything from tainted tests to people purposefully screwing up the tests. Certain states are hiding them, hoarding them. And the arguments, they want to give them to the prisoners first. They want to give them to A, B, and C first. And they're fighting over that priority list. You know, it's really funny. I grew up in a small town, but there was this really large family. And their dad was actually a politician. I don't even know if he was Republican or Democrat. I didn't pay attention to that crap when I was a kid. I just wanted to hear things that had distorted guitar and ride things that had a throttle. But their family was extremely, extremely large. And a lot of times you got pushed around by them. Not so much that they were forwardly mean, but, God, they had the sway of politics on the playground. I think there was 12 of them in all. But what was really funny, if you played your cards right, they would collapse on each other. Because when it comes to birds of a feather that are very identical, they're going to fight over the same seeds. And I couldn't tell you, is this a pen full of chickens? Didn't mean that. I shouldn't be insulting. Tonight I'm actually trying not to swear. I want to be able to pull off having shows that aren't explicit. Election was emotional. Transition of power was emotional. Fake conservative attacks on the Capitol were emotional. Being lied about, being lied to, being lied over. A second false impeachment trial. Yeah, there was some profanity going around. And I still don't blame me. So I guess I forgive me. But going forward, let's try to be a better person. I do want to use the word lefty a lot more. I've used it before, but I didn't really notice it till I was listening to the Hodge twins. I recommend listening to them as well. The Hodge twins, these two black guys that do it's a serious show, but they do it in a comedic way. But you get the point, and they do not disrespect or treat anybody indignantly. I think they go by the conservative twins, Hodge twins. They're not hard to find. It is really interesting. They're black guys with big blue eyes, and they come from black parents. And what's amazing is they're not Democrats. They are conservatives. Now, I don't always agree with what they say, but it was really nice to see black people talking about politics and not hating white American men. So don't think you're going to go there and hear some kind of a hate fest or hammer down. They're really cool dudes. I think they've done a lot to quell people being racist. In a time when you're seeing large groups of black people burning down buildings and everything, I think there's certain white people that aren't strong of mind that break down and start hating. So, for everybody out there who really would like to hear a fresh version of conservative values, and I don't mean version, but the way they see and perceive is definitely a little bit different, but I'll be honest, they make Republicans and conservatism exciting again. But they tell a lot of cool jokes, they're pretty funny, blah, 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 blah. All right, so I got to hit my tablet back on. We got yammering. How long we going? Oh, we're at 20-minute mark. Not bad. Let's see. Oh, the other lie. We get down to number 5. The dog made me fall in the shower. I actually have that clip of him explaining that broken foot. I think something a lot more embarrassing happened that may have actually made the whole world question his cognitive ability. And that's why he made up the dog made me fall in the shower lie. I'm willing to bet as a student his dog ate his homework a lot as well. Oh, let's remember the lie. Now, he has undone everything that Donald Trump did to fix, repair, and keep afloat the Affordable Care Act. Now, Trump did not dissolve that into nothingness. He worked with what he had because to fight it in Congress was a huge battle. That's all undone. So remember the old days when Biden, introducing the Affordable Care Act with Obama, said, you can keep your doctors. No, you can't. Back then you couldn't. And now that he's erased all the lines, you're not going to be able to now. And of course, let's see. Another lie. He talked about not being racist. Which, all right, if we forget about 1974, 1975, and 1976, all the things he said and endorsed, well, maybe we can say he's not racist. If you disregard a lot of the things he said and did in the 80s, well, maybe we can consider he's not a racist. Time goes on, maybe he changed. And then I think it was around August, he made that insinuation. I think he insinuated that blacks are inferior to Hispanics. All right, here's what he said. And again, everything you're hearing from me is strictly opinion. I'm in no way a professional. By the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things. And let's go back through that. To read his quotes the way that he speaks is bizarre. There's a few stitches missing from his web. By the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, and he says that as a run-on sentence. Then he goes on, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community. So, the African American community, President Joe Biden is stating, is not as incredibly diverse as the Latinos? Question mark. So at that point, when I got to that, I'm like, yeah, he's still a racist, and sometimes his bumbling mouth starts spewing it out. But he's not a racist to the effect of he'll accept being king of the world and lots of money in denial of his racism. But, definitely, my man is a racist. So, I also went in and took a look at the things he said and did in 1974, 75, and 76. The main thing he said, let's see, in 1975, they were talking about busing in. The way I originally described it was he was talking about busing and segregation, and I thought it was going back to like a further time where white kids and black kids couldn't be on the same bus. Which I guess I kind of misunderstood. The busing issue of this. Now, in 1975, I was 5 years old. It'll be another year before I get my first political memory when Gerald Ford was trying to explain away Richard Nixon. But nonetheless, in 1975, now this, even though I'm a Republican and conservative, I kind of agree with. I remember the 70s. There were still primarily black schools that were in the ghettos. And no, they did not offer the same opportunity for those children to be as smart as other kids, even going to schools that were slightly better. So there was a whole thing in legislation about busing. And what that meant was going to the ghetto, picking up these children and bringing them out to better schools to get a better education. And Joe is opposed to it. And this is what he had to say. Again, okay, you could say you're opposed to that. Maybe you're opposed to saying they're coming out of another school district to our school district and we're not getting any money for that. It's coming out of our own pockets. I could see if they said, well, this is going to overpopulate our schools and we're not going to be able to educate as well as we were. I mean, I could see if they were trying to make, even if it was a made-up excuse, something that was sort of rational. I'm saying rational. I like that. I've got a new word, rationable. I have to put a definition to it later. So he opposes it, and this is what he says about it. You take people who aren't racist, people who are good citizens, who believe in equal education and opportunity, and you stunt their children's intellectual growth by using them by busing them to an inferior school, and you're going to fill them with hatred. I'm going to reread that because I screwed it up. The way I read things is one of my eyes is blocked by the microphone. I need to step up and buy one of those nice microphones. But nonetheless, you work with what you have and not with what you don't have. So let's go back to possibly racist Joe Biden. You take people who aren't racist, people who are good citizens, who believe in equal education and opportunity, and you stunt their children's intellectual growth by busing them to an inferior school, and you're going to fill them with hatred. Now, what he says is actually kind of oxymoronic because he screws up. He says, you take people who aren't racist, people who are good citizens, who believe in equal education and opportunity, and you stunt their children's intellectual growth by busing them. So he's like saying he's busing the children in that neighborhood to that neighborhood. So he already made a huge contextual error in what he was saying, but we all get what he means. We all smoked pot and had friends that smoked a lot of pot, and we had to figure out what they meant. And then he says, you stunt their children's intellectual growth by busing them to an inferior school. It wasn't about bringing the kids from that neighborhood to the ghetto schools. It was about bringing the ghetto kids out to better schools. And he says that you stunt their children's intellectual growth by busing them to an inferior school, and you're going to fill them with hatred. Well, yeah, I could imagine if you live in a nice neighborhood, you go to a nice school, and suddenly you are in a really bad ghetto school. But I don't think you're going to fill them with racist hatred so much as, like, what the hell's going on? But it was 1975. Now, what he says next gets a lot crazier. A lot crazier. Let's see. What it says is, in order for your child with curly black hair, brown eyes, and dark skin to be able to learn anything, he needs to sit next to my blonde-haired, blue-eyed son. That's racist. Who the hell do we think we are that the only way a black man or a woman can learn is if they rub shoulders with my white child? And I'm going to read it one more time, and I'm going to read it quickly, because as you can tell, he is either really high on some really good weed, or he was getting and still getting really good meds. Now, this is back in 1975 when he was a young man and cognitive. He still was talking in that blithering gibberish. I really think he must have extorted and blackmailed his way to the top in politics. But again, that's just an assumption. So, What it says is, in order for your child with curly black hair, brown eyes, and dark skin to be able to learn anything, he needs to sit next to my blonde-haired, blue-eyed son. Well, that's racist. Who the hell do we think we